Before we get into today's video, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about making money for game mastering? If you have, go to GameShopsBasement.com. There's a banner ad at the top that can take you some more information about learning how to do just that. And now, on with our feature presentation.
Hey folks, for Basement Banter here, I'm John Clement of the Game Shop's Basement, and today I'm going to answer something that I get asked almost every day. Or sometimes it feels like every day. So we're going to be revamping our website soon, and I'm thinking about doing FAQ videos, little short video answers to things. So this will be the first one. So one of the questions I just got asked today, and I was asked yesterday, and I was probably asked the day before, is people ask me if, as a game master, for Dungeons and Dragons, I require any particular way to roll your stats. No, no, I don't, and here's why: because any of the methods, like the point buy system or the standard array or roll 46 and drop the lowest one. I mean, any of those types of things. If we walked into a game store and we talked to some math nerds, they would all be able to have a little roundtable conversation, and they'd be able to justify with statistics and math why their favorite one is best or this other favorite one is best according to their game theory and math statistics and stuff. The point is that every single one of those had some serious thought put into them. None of them are going to break the game. They're all going to generate a character that's not perfect and is probably going to be okay to play. So, and what I mean by okay to play, when I was growing up, well, the game's still around today. It's in a different form. I think a different company might own it, but it was a little more of a contender for D&D in the 80s when I was growing up. It was called Rollmaster. In Rollmaster, your stats were, and maybe still are, I don't know, I haven't seen the game in years, but Rollmaster, your stats were D100. They were percentile, 1 to 100. And what they actually said in one of the core books I had at the time, now there have been many editions of these core books, but what I had at the time as a kid growing up, it said if you had a stat that was 20 or less on a scale of 1 to 100, so you're in like the bottom fifth, this is just terrible. But if you had a stat that was like 20 or less, just re-roll the character and consider that character just didn't live through childhood and young adulthood to become a first level adventurer. Because in a medieval society, they gave examples like for each stat. So like in a medieval society, if your strength was in the bottom fifth percentile, then maybe, growing up, there was like an accident where a beam fell or something as you were raising barns and plowing and doing all these things people do in medieval times. And the only way to save yourself is what we would call in 5th edition a strength saving throw, where, like you catch it or whatever, kind of like push it away from you. You weren't able to do that, you died. Or if your constitution was 20 or less on D100, and you were in the bottom fifth of constitution, then with diseases going around and things in medieval times, you would have gotten the chicken pox and died. Because the chicken pox apparently was like lethal in the Middle Ages. And the same thing, they even did it with the mental stats. So like if your intelligence was in the bottom 1/5, that would mean maybe you would have learning disabilities or some cognitive issues or something like that. Might have a little trouble remembering things. And you might have forgotten that the king said that, do not pass over this one field on penalty of death. This was the example they get into, and you forgot. You just thought, oh, this will make a good shortcut. And so you start traipsing across that field, penalty of death. Or if your charisma was in the lower 1/5, you might have offended someone who might have killed you. But, so the idea is that, if your stats were really that low, medieval life was hard, and you probably didn't survive. So in the opinion of the people who wrote that particular book, they're like, it's not cheating if your stats are that low to just re-roll a new character. Just consider that character did live, and they just didn't make it to be first level. So you can't play them because like they died before they would have had their first session of first level adventure. So just roll the next one. So yeah, it's You want a character that's playable, where the stats aren't too low, and you want a character that's not perfect. So any one of your methods that you like, whether it's point by array or standard array or whatever it is, roll 46, drop the lowest. I've even seen people do 5d6, drop the lowest. I think that drop the lowest 2. I think that's a little extreme, in my opinion. But but as long as it's an actual method. Now, of course, then I've had people say, well, hey, John, let me do whatever method I want. So my method is just write down all 20s. No, that's not a method, okay? Just don't make up something like that. That's not a method. We're talking about like the published, game theory methods for how to run D&D. Any of them will work. And we allow transfer characters anyway. And so who knows? I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you remember when you rolled up your transfer character. If you're bringing in a transfer character that you've played before, so if I did have a uniform policy as to what, have to be done this certain way, well, then what about transfer characters? Were transfer characters done that certain way? So bottom line, whatever system, it's not going to break the game. Like, we don't, require a certain one. So hope that answers that for you, and I will see you in the next bit of banter.